Hi, good day to everyone. Now we will discussing about communication. A brief background or a brief discussion about communication in order for us to know what is communication because we can notice that day by day or time by time, second by seconds, we are doing a communication. Okay. What is communication? Many theories have been proposed to describe, project, and understand the behaviors and phenomena of which communication consists. When it comes to communication in business, we are often less interested in theory than in making sure our communications generate the desired results. But in order to achieve results, it can be valuable to understand what communication is and how it works. Okay. Definition of communication. The root of the word communication in Latin is communicare, which means to share or to make common. Communication is defined as the process of understanding and sharing meaning. Okay. The first key word in this definition is the process. A process is a dynamic activity that is hard to describe because it changes. Imagine you are alone in your kitchen thinking someone you know. Say your mother enters the kitchen and you talk briefly. What has changed? Now, imagine that your mother is joined by someone else, someone you haven't met before, and this stranger listens intensely as you speak, almost as if you were giving a speech. What has changed? Your perspective might change, and you might watch your words more closely. The feedback or response from your mother and a stranger who are insane, your audience, may cause you to reevaluate what you are saying. When we interact, all these factors and many more influence the process of communication. For me, like me, I have an auntie, my teacher before when I was in high school. When she is in school, when we are in school, I treat her as a teacher and I talk to her like, good morning mom, like something like that. But when we are in the house, I treat her as my auntie, as a relatives, and I will treat her like by saying, hello auntie, good morning, like something like that. When we are in our house, I treat her as my auntie. When in school, I treat her as a teacher. Like for example, here in our example that we have read like when are in a home or we're something talking about our family or something, a member of our family that we are done every day. Like for example, we are talking briefly or something, something looks like that. Or like for example, like our mother like talking to us when we are making done wrong or something wrong. For example, there are mothers that they are doing to yell or to shout to their children because something bad happens or something that the children didn't make a work or household chores. So there are mothers that they are doing yell to their or shouting to their children. But when someone enters their home or visitors, so as a person, we are something shy or we are capable of what we have to say, because we are interacting with someone person, diba? We respect other person, and we didn't show our bad attitudes towards our family members, because there are audience here that are saying to us, so we are capable of what we have to say. So it was being saying there that when we interact, all these factors may more influence the process of communication, like the feedback or response from your mother and a stranger who are in scene, or your audience may cause you to evaluate what you are saying. So evaluate, so it depends upon our audience. Like for instance, like we are facing in attorneys, diba? We are being formal. We have to say formal, diba? Because it is the attorney, it is a formal person. So how we communicate, it depends upon what kinds of person that we are talking, or we have been being communicate, and who are the audience besides us that can be seen while we are in communication. Okay, next, the second keyword is understanding. So to understand is to perceive, to interpret, and to relate our perception and interpretation to what we already know. If a friend tells you a story about falling off a bike, what image comes to mind? Then now your friend points out the window and you see a motorcycle lying on the ground. So understand the words and the concept or object they refer to is an important part of communication process. So at this point, understanding. So when we communicate to someone else, so there's a message that coming from them. So in order for us to make a better communication, we should have to be understand what they are saying about. So like the example that we have read, her friends telling about the falling of a bike. Then later on, her friends pointing out in the window, and you see the lying motorbike that lying on the ground. So when we say motorbike alone, there are some motorbike when we say bike alone, there are something meaning of bike like bicycle that using for cycling, diba? Then bicycle is a short term that refers to motorbike, something like that, diba? Motorbike. So when it comes to our mind first, we say bicycle or motorbike, but something, it is a bike, diba? But later on, her friends points out in the window, then you see a motorcycle lying on the ground. So we can finally say or understand that her friends points out a motorcycle or motorbike. So but by that time, you can see what she is pointing out, or your friend pointing out what kinds of bike. So we can conclude now that it is a motorcycle, not a bicycle. So it is very important to understand. Understanding is also very important part of communication. Okay, next comes the word is sharing. Okay, Sharing means doing something together with one or more people. You may share a joint activity, as when you share in compiling a report, or you may benefit jointly from a resource, as when you and several co-workers share a pizza. Then, in communication, sharing occurs when you convey thoughts, feelings, ideas, or insights to others. You also share with yourself a process called interpersonal communication. When you bring ideas to consciousness, ponder how you feel about something, or figure out the solution to a problem, and have a classic aha movement when something comes clear. Okay, like when we are in high school, there are lots of activities like grouping activities that needs a grouping communication, sharing of ideas. Okay, in our real life nowadays, we are doing a sharing communication like the marites, diba? Like marites in our house, that they are some person sharing together, libak-libakin together with someone else, and sharing ideas or thoughts about their topics. So it is a sharing communication. Then it points out that they are saying that when you are being shocked about the topics, like for example, your neighbor is getting pregnant without a husband, so you can say, mo ba, or something looks like that, expression. So it is a sharing communication. They are in group communication. Finally, the meaning is what we share through communication. The word bike, that we are talking about previous example that we are talking about in understanding. The word bike represents a bicycle, and a short name for a motorcycle. By looking at the context and the word is used, and by asking question, we can discover the shared meaning of the word and understand the message. Okay, the word bike that we have talking previous example, there are two meaning of bike, the bicycle and the motorbike. So as you see, as your friend saying or point out about the window, and you see the motorcycle lying on the ground, so you can conclude now that the meaning, what she is pointing out, is about a motorcycle, a motorbike. So like for example, so we are in Filipino, I want to use it Tagalog. Like for example, tubo na like for example, tubo, or in English, sugar cane. Tubo means tube or a pipe. Then tubo is interest, like your money, interest of your money, tubo. So it depends upon how we use it in a sentence, ba? The tubo, the pipe means pipe, tubo, sugar cane, and tubo, interest. Like we are pointing out using a word or sentences or phrases like my money, like in Filipino term, malaki ang tubo ng aking pera doon sa MCOO, diba? When we are saying upon, when we have read upon that sentence, the tubo means interest, not a sugar cane, not a pipe. When we are saying about may butas ang tubo doon sa likuran ng bahay, so may butas ang tubo, so it means it pointing out about the pipe. Then, malakas ang ani sa mga tubo na aming pananim. So, it points out a sugarcane. So, finally, we have to understand the meaning. Now, we will tackle about the 8 essential components of the communication. Okay, so let's explore it one by one. So the first is the source. So the source is where the messages coming from, or the new information began. So to where it is the sender, or the sender, it is the source of which the meaning or the starting of conversation are being takes place, or the origin. It is the source. Okay. The next is the message. So it is the message. It is the main ideas, or the main point of the conversation is the message, or it is the beginning of the interaction among the person, or the sender, and the receiver. It is the message. The very body, or the main point of the conversation. It is the reason why interaction is began. Next is the channel. The channel, like the digital conversation, the audio conversation, written conversation like emails or Facebook, Instagram, Twitters. That is more common for us, especially nowadays that we are prone on technologies and social media sites. So, like here, example that like the television, they have multiple forms of communication. The television that we can say, that we can see in it, the visual and the audio. So we have for them to see in the television. Try to turn off the volume. Then we can also understand what they are talking about because of their actions that takes place in the visual effect of the television. We can conclude what they are saying or talking about because of their actions, gestures, and emotions, whether they're angry, they're happy, or what they are been doing. Then, like for instance, you rise up the volume of the television and you turn off, you turn around. So, you can still understand what they are saying for because of the audio that we can hear coming from the television. We can also understand what they are talking about based upon our hearing of what conversation they have done, or what is the point of their conversation. And that is the channel. As long as the written materials like emails, like a radio, the audio, and the audio, the voiceover, the cell phone, and the Facebook. It is written coming from the social media, the Twitter, Instagram, and as well as the face-to-face conversation. Okay, that is the channel. The next is the receiver. Okay, the person who received the message that coming from the sender. Okay, the receiver who recognize, analyze, and interpret the message that coming from the sender based upon what they have been seen, or what they have been smell, like smells bad, or smells good, or something looks like that, or they are having touch, or the table is very rough or smooth, something like that, based upon their senses also that's coming from the source. That is the receiver who analyze and interpret the messages. Then the next, the feedback. Okay. The feedback is the message coming from the sender or the audience. In order to have a clarification among the conversation, the feedback is very important. Okay, between the conversation, as a sender sends the message to the receiver, and the receiver or the audience giving feedback to the sender based upon what they have been saying, what they have been feel, what they have been touch or smell, or their gestures, and that is the feedback. As a sender, we can say the feedback among our audience or our receiver based upon their emotions, their gestures, so we can conclude about their feedbacks. So that is example of a feedback that coming from our audience and or the receiver. Okay, the environment. Okay, the environment is the best factors that can affect the conversation. Like for instance, includes the tables, the chairs, the lighting, and the sounds equipment that are in the room. So that's the environment affects. So like for instance, our table. So suppose that we are taking a breakfast. We have a long table. So you are eating here at the last part of the edge of the table, and your partner is going further in the last edge of the table. So as you communicate to each other, you are in so far, but you are have a communication. So sometimes you cannot easily understand to each other because you are so far to each other. You cannot easily hear what they're talking about. Then the chairs. So like you are sitting in the chairs that are not functional. Not functional chairs. So while you are have an interaction with someone, you cannot focus of what they have been saying. So the conversation is being affected because you cannot focus about the topic of the conversation, especially when we are in school, that when we are sitting in the uncomfortable chair, we cannot understand the discussion of the teacher as well as the lighting. So for example, in a room, we are reading an article or a books, so we cannot easily read the conversation or the message that we are reading because of the lights, pour of lights, or something like that, pour of lights. So we can't read. So we cannot definitely see the message. So we can understand the message as long as the sounds equipment at the room. So like a chainsaw, here in the mountains, something like mountains, that you are talking to someone while the chainsaw is being operated. So because of the sounds effects, your surroundings, you cannot understand of the message that conveys in your conversation. You cannot understand because you have been distracted by the sounds coming from the outside or coming from the surroundings that outside your conversation. Okay, the next, the context. So it is the context based upon what kind of person that you are being interact of, like in the teachers, the professionals, like the lawyers, the doctors, or in the birthday parties, in the weddings, or at home. So we all know that we have two kinds of conversation, the formal and informal. So while we are in home, like talking our siblings or members of the home or the family, we have a communication informal. Informal. Then when we are talking about the lawyers or doctors, so we have to be formal. You have to be formal based upon what kinds of person that we are talking about, or what topic, or what is the topic of our conversation, of our communication. Like for instance, in the school, we should have acts as a students to our teacher, and the teacher should be acts as a teacher formally. Formally, to have a respect to each other. So imagine that you are a student, and I am your teacher, or I am your students and you are a teacher, and I raise my questions, and I put my hands up, my right hands up to ask a question, and I said, hey teacher, can I ask a question? So it is informal. So it should be, excuse me teacher, can I have a question? So that is a formal. So we should have to know of what we have to use as a conversation, whether it is formal or informal. It depends upon the situation, whether in a formal occasion or in formal discussion, formal or informal. That is the context. What is the context of our conversation? It is whether a formal or informal. Okay. Interference. So it is the interference. Like for instance, interference or the hindrance or the barrier among the environment when we are in communicating with someone. Like for instance, the noises around us. For example, you are taking ride, then you are talking with your friend in your mobile phone. So the interference there, or the barrier with your communication, is the noise from the tricycles or from the vehicles around you. That is the interference that can be affected your communication with a person that you are talking. So for something like that. So that is the interference. So there are lots of hindrances or interference that we are facing off while we are in communicating, like something, the noise, or something like here now in the students that is doing in online class. The interference there is the signal, the poor signal or a choppy signal. So we cannot definitely understand the discussion of the teachers in the online class because of the barrier, the hindrances of the poor communication. Okay, that is the interference. So those are the 8 essential components of communication. And this time we will tackle about communication in social media. Okay, we have to read. There are various modes through which we communicate with each other. In the past, these modes took the form of handwritten messages, like the typewriter messages, short telegrams, computer-encoded text, as well as landline telephone conversations and audio or video recorded messages. Today, with the rapid rise and spread of internet connectivity, the old forms of communication have given way to new forms that make conversation easier and faster. What is social media? Social media can be described as the collection of online platforms that involve sharing and collaborating with an online community by posting, commenting, and interacting with one another. The most commonly used social media platforms today are Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and the Snapchat that we can't deny as millennials for today's era that we are using this form of social media platforms. Okay. Social media affects on communication. Around 3 billion people use social media today, which means that 40% of the world uses social media for communication. It is no surprise that this widespread use has social media effects on communication. Oh yeah, we cannot deny that. Oh, especially here in the Philippines, that we are most prone of using social media platforms. All over the world, we are, the Philippines is the #1 users of the social media, or the nation has the more time of using social media online platforms. Okay. Communication is affected in ways such as personal expression, our expectation of others, and the way companies communicate with customers. Okay, especially now pandemics, that our communication is coming from the social media like Facebook, Instagram, or even telephone, text messages. Yeah. We cannot deny that, because when we ordered in Lazada, we can easily access in our cell phone, like the online selling in the Facebook. We communicate them through the messages or PM, private messages, to order our needs. Like when we have to eat, we have to contact to the Food Panda to deliver in our house. Then we have something to buy, a dress and earrings or something, accessories. We can easily access into the internet. So it is a means of online platforms communication. Okay, next. These are the effects of the online communication. Okay, the exposure to messaging, information overload. According to Webets, 20% of young users gets news from social media, and 61% get political news from Facebook. On social media, people share interesting news they read, and they can follow various news sources pages. Okay, as I notice, I compare it in the 24 Oras here in the Philippines, 24 Oras or TV Patrol, something like that, or even the broadcaster. The social media is more advanced than them. Yeah, I notice it. The social media have been posted first before the broadcaster. Okay, then information overload. Then it is being said on social media, people share interesting news they read, and they can follow various news sources pages. So some things in social media we can't deny, because of the many multiples of sources. We cannot deny that there are lots of fake news that comes from the social media. That's why, as a reader in social media, when we have to read an information, we have to see or to investigate the source, if it is a credible or reliable sources, if it is a fake news or it is in a fact. Okay, that is the most important, because there are lots of fake news in the social media. But sometimes in social media there are lots of valid news. It is the truth. Then letter B, getting the full picture. Stories, a part of Instagram, Snapchat, and Facebook, mean that people get the full pictures of an event, activity, or occurrence in someone's life. We see in the entire process from start to finish. Okay, something like that. We have to post something, especially when we are traveling in the area. Thursday we will going to Boracay. Okay, something looks like that. So if you have a stalker, be mindful of what you have been posting. because your stalker is always there to stalk you. Maybe to kidnap you. Joke. Oh, something looks like that. It's very honest. Oh, that's why I advise you to not fully post your life story on the social media, because there are lots of temptations that takes place around you, or someone wants to hurt you. So that's why I advise you to take good care of yourself, especially when we are now in social media, because sometimes there are lots of people will be blackmailed you. Number 2, bored in conversation. Here is a sad social media effects on communication. We are becoming bored when we have a real in-person conversation. This can lead to a decrease in the quality and number of a meaningful conversation, okay? Because of the widely spread of online communication. This said that the person so far, we can communicate them and feeling them that even though they are apart from us, they are away from us, we can feel that they are always beside us, because we can also communicate them through social media. So we can talk to them whenever we want, whatever or whenever, if we are willing to talk with them. But the bad effect there is the people that beside us, because of the social media, can lead us to be apart. Because we are not more interested talking face to face, because we are prone in social media. We are capable. We want to communicate through social media by other person that away from us, but the person that are with us can lead us to be apart because of the boredness of communicating in face to face. So instead that the person is with us because of a conversation coming from online, because we notice, even though I'm here in my room and my brother there and there in his room, and we are in the same house, we are also chatting with each other whenever we have to say. O, diba? We have been to say. So our communication still apart. So even though we have a time to talk with each other, because it is very easy to get out in the room and open the door and going to his room and talking with him. So instead of doing that, we are doing text messages in Facebook or Messenger. So it is taking away by it from me and my brother to each other. We are being apart, something like that. That is the boredness of conversation in face to face, because it is we prepared online. Okay. Number 3, reaction to non-verbal, emotional, and social cues. Okay, when we are in conversation in social media, even though they replied you ha ha ha, so our emotions, we can conclude that he or she is happy, but in reality they are very angry unto you. So we cannot really identify their emotions because of the non-verbal cues or social cues. We cannot definitely conclude to their reaction based upon what you have been texted to them, even though they express their like this messages ha ha ha, but deep inside they are angry to you. They didn't show the true feelings unto you. So that is the bad effect of social media, because we cannot definitely conclude what they have been feel upon you. The number 4 needs to share. Social media has created a feeling among users that they must share whatever they are doing. There is both positive and negative of this action. Okay, like for example, when I doing scrolled in my newsfeed in Facebook, I see a lots of people that are being argued in the social media and posting there that mga marites mong dako, baga kag nawong, wa kay ulaw, gipakaulawan ako nimo. Something looks like that. Something looks like that. That is not advisable to post that your personal problem in the social media. When you are posting your personal problem in the social media, for what purpose? To impress other people, to advertise your problems, to advertise your life? No. You make yourself as a funny thing on social media. When you are posting something like that, you are being advertising on your life events. Your hatred. You're posting social media. Don't do that, because the audience from social media can't help your problems. So in order to solve your problems, just talk to the person that you are being argued. Talk to them personally. In order for you to have an answer to solve that problem. Because the audience from social media can't help you. They will make you as a funny thing on social media. That is, be mindful of what you have been posted on social media. So, that's it. Be mindful. Think first before you post. Don't make your life as an advertisement to the newsfeed in the social media. Okay? Baka pagpiestahan ka pa dun, pagtawanan ka, mapahiya ka pa. Okay, next. Communication practices. Okay, we have to practice this communication. Especially when we are doing social media platforms, we have using social media conversations, like posting on the Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, something like that. Okay, na first, whenever I make a public post on social media, I first review the content and language of my post. I will think before I click. Okay, that's what I have said. Think before you click. Because sometimes you make yourself as an advertisement of the newsfeed of social media. You make yourself as a joke. Pag fiestahan ka lang doon, baka mangyari sa'yo yun. Kaya, think before you click. Watch your language. Baka sasabihin ng ibang tao, you are a professional but uneducated one. Kaya be mindful. Be mindful while you are using social media. And number 2, in using technology when communicating a message, I am mindful of the strengths and weakness the tools I am using. Okay, like for example, before we are using a keypad cell phone in texting or contacting with other people. So you click the keyboard of your keypad. So sometimes while you are clicking your keypad, the letters that you are being typing is not incorrect. Is not correct. Okay. Like for instance, our cell phone, that are lots of cell phone that is hang. Hang yung cell phone natin. Sometimes you cannot deny that we're getting angry. We are impatient. And sometimes when we are typing in our mobile phone, there are cases that instead of we have typing another other words, the words that being pop up is not appropriate, is not what we have then typed. So be mindful of what use that we are using to convey a message. So review your message before you send your written message. Number 3, in using technology when communicating a message, I vary the language depending on the tool I use. Okay, vary the language, the tool I use. Okay, like for example, written, handwritten, handwritten. So in a letter, it is like the same. You written, you texting messages in your mobile phone. So depending I use. So for example, you should have to have a punctuation mark, something like that, to express what you have to convey, or the meaning of your message, as well as in the audio conversation or the video conversation, your emotions, example of language that you have used. And like audio conversation, mind your tone of voice, whether but sometimes because of your tone of voice, sometimes the people, the receiver, that they think he's angry, she's angry, but for you, you're not angry. It is your voice. That's something like that, that your tone is normally big. So that's why be mindful in order for your audience or your receiver easily get or easily understand what you are being conveyed about your messages you want to convey to your audience or to your receiver. Okay, number 4. Although I valued communication technology, I also spend time for face-to-face interaction for people. So it is very advisable. So even though we have using cell phone, because I notice that my cell phone is half of my life. Because whenever I go, I bring my cell phone, and I am not comfortable when I'm going so far without handling my cell phone. My life is not comfortable. Because for me, it is half of my life. It is my personal use. But sometimes I don't want my cell phone to be borrowed by someone because it is a personal. Yeah. So even though we are using online conversation, this take also time to have a face-to-face conversation among your members of your families, or even though your friends, or whatever the people surrounds you, or the people that you have met. When you are in road, when you are in road, or sometimes when I have to encounter the people, especially in the road, even though we are not close, even though I didn't know about them, I'm just saying, mayong gabi, may udto di sa imo, may buntag, may hapon, something like that. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good noon. Something like that whenever I meet a person in the road while I am walking. So something's like that. It is for example, face-to-face conversation. So it's very advisable in order for you to have always in contact to the people that are beside you. Don't let the technology can mix it apart. The person that beside you can make it going apart to each other because of the online conversation, online platforms. Okay. Number 5, in using technology when communicating a message, I respect the privacy of individuals concerned in the message. Okay, it's very important to respect their privacy. Like for instance, you are posting something on your My Day, or the story of your friends, or Or, for example, your friends telling his or her problems to you and asking your advice. So you're giving advice to them or to him or to her. Then you are also sharing his or her stories to the other people. So don't do that. Be mindful. Respect their privacy because it is not your right to share their stories to the others because you are the person that your friends trusted. Your friend trusted you. So don't break your trust. Don't break the trust of your friends to you. Don't share the story of other people to the other one because of your marites life. Don't do that because it brings an argued. It is bring misunderstanding or something a bad effect. So the war or the arguments or the argued between the two person, between you, your friends, and the other one can make us argued. So be mindful. Don't share other people's history or story. Don't do that because it is their privacy, not yours. Hinaan mo yung ugali mo na marites, ha? Because your marites life can ruin the future or can ruin the life of other people. Now, what we have learned so far. So number 1, with the rapid rise and spread of internet connectivity, the old forms of communication have given way to new ones that make communication easier and faster. So by one click of your message in your mobile phone, by seconds, it is automatically sent and received by your sender because of the internet connectivity. That's why it makes easier to rapidly receive and send the messages because of the internet connection, the social media. Number 2, technology tools is in communication such as social networking sites, for example, are used to connect to distant family and relatives or old friends, to meet new ones, or to share the most trivial to the most important information or ideas. So it's very easy to access with them, to our families, to monitoring them. For example, me, I am so far from them. I am here in Mahayag, Sambuca del Sur, and my family are there in Osami City. So they are always updating me. So by updating me of what happening to me, so it is very easily to communicate. So number 3, each tool has its own strengths and weaknesses. Whatever tool is used, it is important to always be responsible in conveying ideas or delivering a message. Because whether it is written, like the emails, or in a post office, or a handwritten materials, or even a telephone conversation or audio conversation, in a video call like this, we are talking about video, visual, audio, and visual communication that have a strengths and weaknesses, like have a barrier, like the lights coming from rays that we cannot see our face because of the lack of or poor of the lights, or the sound effects like the chainsaw coming from the surroundings, or the motorcycles, the horn of the motorcycles, that can be an interference of the barrier of our communication. And like a keypad cell phone, or whether it is very easy to access the information, but we cannot deny that it is lots of interference or the barrier when we are receiving or sending the message, like the very most problem for now is the internet connection, the poor connectivity of internet connection. So that is what we have learned so far to our discussion about social media. This time we will talking about the forms of intercultural communication. It's according to Dent 1998. So first, interracial communication. Communicating with people from different races. And the ethnic communication. Interacting with people from different ethnic origins. So, we all know that Philippines is a diverse country with different races, racials, people, and ethnic groups. So, we have different cultures and attitudes towards each other, because cultures can affect our attitudes and emotions that we are, who we are. So, me as a Bisaya, communicating with other people, like for example in pure Subanen people, or Ilocano, Ilonggo, or the Sambuangueño, like the Chabacano. So in communicating with them through language is very hindrance, because I cannot speak Subanen, I cannot speak Chabacano, I cannot speak Ilonggo. Yeah, but we can communicate them by understanding. How to understand their emotions, their feelings? Yeah, most of their feelings. Then, like for instance, because of the different ethnicity, for example, the Subanen people, there are Bisaya people that saying that Subanon makikang dako no mangga hugawan makikang dako, ignorante pag yun. There's something looks like that. This is a disrespect attitude towards ethnicity, racial of other people. Kaya nga no, kasi pala Subano ninyo, hugawan ang Subano? I can say that it is not. Ang Subano di man yung hugawan. Hugawan sila Hingon sila hugawan ang Subano, because lots of Subanen going to the farm, then you know, when they are eating, they didn't wash their hand, because as their belief, their culture, that when you are in the work, your hands is sweating and it is hawoy. So it is not advisable to wash your hand, because it can leads you to a stroke or something like that, stroke. So that's why they didn't wash their hands. So as some Bisaya, because some Bisaya is very pride, taas og pride. Salig kay kabalo magkinamo, salig kay magkutsara-kutsara, din walay trabaho mo nang hinaw-hinaw, din kinamot kunuhay, ingana. O dayon, i-lockdown ang Subano. Inapoy maingon, Subano kan dako, kay ignorante. We can definitely say that mostly Subanen is ignorant, because you know, there are lots of Subanen is living in the mountains, and when they are going to the city or the town, they are not familiar about the things that are new to them, like for today, the spread of the technology. So like for instance, the escalator, they are afraid to going upstairs and using escalator. Then like for example, when I have a friend, I remember that we are going to the Mag-inasal, eating together with him, and I say to them, come on, let's wash our hand because my inasal and Malav is only eating by using your hand. So I wash my hand. I said, come on, let's wash our hand. So I wash my hand, and then he he asking me how to open the faucet. So we all know that the faucet is going turn on to open, turn off again, turning off. So I tell him that you only push and it is automatically open. So we are washing our hands together. Then in a few minutes, he asked me again how to close the faucet. So I tell him, let them off by its own. So what? Turn off by his own. So she continue pushing the faucet. So I tell them, don't push it again. So it is automatically turned off. So instead of laughing unto him, I teach him what to do. So just respect other ethnic groups, because like Susubanen, they are not capable or they didn't know about the advancement of the technologies that takes place here in the town or in the city, because they are in the mountains and they didn't even know, they are not know yet about the changes or technologies. So teach them, not to laugh them, and respect them as a human being like us. Okay. International communicating between representatives from different nations. So it is important. So we can it is difficult for us to communicate with other people, especially like a Japanese, Chinese, Korean, Russian, Spanish people coming from different countries. The true language, we cannot definitely easily access information by them. But because of the English language, the international language, which is the English, we can communicate with them. But not all nations are capable in using English language. So the best important thing to communicate them is to have a patient. We have patient to them, because as a Filipino, we all know that our attitude is we are adjustable people. We can adjust easily among other people, among other nations. So we are blessed that here in the Philippines, even though whenever we are like in this street, even though we are not good in English, but there are lots of people that know how to speak English. Oh, like in the street, even the normal people, even the people that didn't going to school, they can speak English, a little English. And even though ungrammatical, for me, I'm speaking English even though ungrammatical, because I am not fluent in speaking English, because as a Filipino netizen, I'm not also perfect by using a Filipino language, because I am a Bisaya people, a race from Bisaya. Although I am a half Subanen and a Bisaya, but I born as a Bisaya people. I'm born as a Bisaya and using a Bisaya language. So I can speak Subanen, yeah, but I learn a little bit. But also I cannot perfectly use and use and using a Filipino language. As long as the English, that is not my national language, it is only a cultural language, it is an international language. So it is important there is I can learn English. So in interaction or communicating other nations or other people coming from different nations, so respect them and be patient to them. Respect them of who they are, and be patient unto them, in order for you to have a better communication among each other. Because we're Filipino, we can use in English language, we can understand more English language. So there are some of nations that cannot really understand easily a language. So be patient unto them. Don't bring your pride. Be lower your pride. Just respect. Spread the love among us, among others. Okay, number 3. Intracultural communication. Interacting with members of the same racial or ethnic group or co-culture. So, by that point, we can easily access or making communication towards each other because we are the same in race or the ethnic groups that we are belong. So we have some different attitude or the cultures. It's very easy to interact. Bisaya to Bisaya, Subayan to Subanin, Muslim to Muslim. So it is very easy to communicate with each other if we are in the same races or ethnic groups. So those are the 3 forms of intercultural communication. And I hope so you learned something very important about my discussion for this time or for today. So the best important of communicating with other people is to respect. First of all is respect. We should have to respect to each other. Whether it is an attorney or our siblings or a normal people, a teachers, a doctors, or other people like in the other nations or different ethnicity or ethnic groups here in the Philippines, or even in the same as well as in the same cultures, in the same races or ethnic groups. Even though our siblings, our mother and father, our parents, or the people surrounds us, best important thing is respect, be patient, and love unto them. And that's it. That is the very important thing to do when you are communicating with other people. And be mindful of your thoughts, what you have been saying or posting, especially in social media platforms that all over the world can see what you have been posting. Okay, that's all. Thank you.